So I'm Becky Anderson, Managing Editor of CNN in Abu Dhabi and the host of Connect the World with Becky Anderson, which is a 2-hour nightly news show broadcast from this region. And I want to talk about this region and what it means to my esteemed panelists on the stage today. Thank you for the introduction. We are going to take a deep dive into the trends that are reshaping this fast-moving hospitality sector. And we're going to do that with Sarmad, who is the CEO of the Kingdom Hotel Investment, Gilda Perez Alvarado, CEO, Orient Express and Chief Strategy Officer, Accor Group. Thank you. Sandeep. Walia is the COO of EMEA Marriott International.
Good
Good
morning.
to have you on board.
Thank you.
Sir. And Arash Azabzan,
Excellent.
Viceroy, Highgate, Charles in charge. Good to have you. Thank you
Great
for
to be
joining
here.
us. Right, let's just dive straight in. I want to get from you your 3 key trends as you see them in the industry at present. Sarmad, starting with you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Your Royal Highnesses, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hosting us. What a fantastic event that was really pulled through in less than 6 months. I've never seen this in my life. So I think the trends obviously are themselves a moving target. I think that the big shocker to the industry have been COVID and what it has meant to the industry following the trauma of COVID and how we've bounced back, and the anticipation of technology and AI and the mobility of people. One thing we've established is that travel is a basic need. There's a lot of resilience. People need to travel. They actually need it from an evolutionary perspective. And for them, the spend on travel and tourism has gone up from discretionary maybe to essential. So we're here to stay. And I think in terms of trend, when you look at this resilience of the industry and the anticipation of technology, I would say that branded residential and brand extension through journeys, hospitality is expanding beyond just basic lodging. It is now experiential, and the experiences are anything to do with mobility of travelers. Residentials, trains, planes, yachts. I think that's basically the future of hospitality, and the hotel groups will be very good at that. That's first trend. The second trend is lifestyle, and we're seeing that people are seeking authenticity, tapestry, sense of place for places they go to, because they put on Instagram their experiences, and they want each one to be different. So you don't want the same resemblance. You want to look like you're in Hong Kong when you're in Hong Kong, not like you're in Atlanta. And the third one is AI, and what AI will mean for the consumer, most importantly, in terms of recognition, and loyalty and intent. Those are the 3 trends that I see shaping the future.
Branded residences, lifestyle and AI. Gilda.
In terms of what we're seeing, Becky, well, first of all, very good to be here as well. Listen, just adding on to what Sarmad was saying. From an AI point of view, of course, technology, we see it more as an enhancer than as a disruptor. The biggest trend that we see with AI is this need for hyper-customization, personalization. When everybody walks into our hotels, they expect us to know everything there is to know about them, to be able to cater to them, and to make sure that the Becky Anderson experience is very different to the Sarmad Talk experience. Especially as when you get to a certain price point, it is absolutely expected. That's very, very interesting. I would say, from a branded residential point of view, this is not something new. You mentioned COVID. COVID, all it did is it exacerbated a trend that was already happening, that was taking place. It was, what COVID did, it upended the way we work, live, play. And branded residential is basically the hotelization of real estate to the next level. There's very big demand for people to have services, to be in community. That's what you get with the branded residences. At the end of the day, a brand is a promise. That's it. So, and it allows to have a following. If I live in a branded residence of, I don't know, Four Seasons residence or a St. Regis residence or an Orient Express residence, I expect that there's a set of values and promises that, that brand is going to be able to deliver. I will be with like-minded people, which is nice. There's this very big need for community building. Everybody's looking to have their own bubble It's very interesting and a very hyper-personalized point of view. And then, you know, from a developer's perspective, branded residential sells at a premium. So it's a win-win-win for everybody.
Right. First of all, really good to be here today. It's a very nice coincidence that for us as Marriott, our growth in Kingdom has been growing. And this month, actually, we announced the fact that we would be signing a 100th hotel in the Kingdom. So it's a pure coincidence. I'm sitting here this month, but we are announcing a 100th hotel in Kingdom. So great growth. Good to be back in the Kingdom. But in terms of, it's going to be a bit of a blend of a few things which have already been spoken. But clearly, I think we're seeing a lot of good growth on brand extensions. You know, so I would kind of split this into three. One would certainly be hotels on water. We were the first kind of branded hotel to go on water. I wouldn't say yacht, but certainly a branded hotel on water with the first yacht 3 years back. And this year we are already on the third. And of course, we have seen a lot of other luxury hotel companies get into that space as well. So that's been a great brand extension. The second we really got into was Safari Lodges. With that whole experiential business that we are getting into. So we opened with JW in Masai Mara, Ritz-Carlton, and quite a few coming our way, which we would be announcing very soon, including the JW, the second one, which opens early next year. So that's been the second brand extension. Third, as my colleagues mentioned right here, branded residences. They are just booming. And today, for Marriott, especially in the luxury space with Ritz-Carlton or Bulgari or Ritz-Carlton, it's been a bit growth. It also moved to the lifestyle space with W in addition. But what's interesting is we're seeing branded residences get into the premium space as well, whether it's Marriott Residences or Sheraton. And today, between open and projects, we are about 230 globally. So that's growing a lot. So that would be one kind of a thing to talk about, which is our branded extensions. Second, certainly that, you know, I think you mentioned about post-COVID, experience is growing and, you know, how travel has become almost necessary. It's, so we recently did our Marriott Bonvoy trend report, which just came out last week. And still 86% of the people are saying they would travel even more than what they did last year. Shorter breaks, get out more often, but spend more quality time, take those breaks and come back. So I think travel is here to stay. And the good part is we're seeing growth on both ends of the spectrum. So one is, of course, luxury space with all the brands I just mentioned, whether it's Bulgari or Ritz-Carlton Reserve or St. Regis or Lifestyle, but also at the mid-scale. It's happening at both. You know, whether it's 4 Points Flex or whether it is Moxie or Citizen M, which we just recently acquired, we're seeing that it's happening at both ends of the spectrum. So I think that's certainly.
I'm just sitting here and listening to you and looking at this panel and thinking the scope of ownership of the industry here on this panel is quite remarkable when I think about each of your portfolios. It's brilliant to have you here. Arash, let me just bring you in here as we lay the table on these trends. Your thoughts?
First and foremost, I want to congratulate His Excellency and the entire Ministry of Tourism for this incredible event. I can't wait to come back every year, and congratulations. For a first-time event, the organization and the level of detail has been amazing. And thank you for making me go last, because I mean, with this panel, like, you know.
I wanted you to be inspired by what they said.
Thank you. You know, I have to, of course, agree with my esteemed colleagues here. A few things that I have seen as trends that are interesting for us to follow. One, we've seen less resistance on rate across the platform, especially when it comes to leisure. Because people want to get what they want and they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
But with that comes higher expectations from the guests to deliver that complete experience. The connection with the hotel is super important. We've seen more return guests. We've seen more generational travel, where people come with 3-4 generations, and sometimes they spend $150,000 per night for their family. They don't care, but they want everything to be delivered at the highest level. So with that, and the AI revolution that's happening right now, I think the level of expectations, the level of curated experience is going to be very, very important. For me, it's all about making connections with the guests and the community for every hotel that we have. You know, for me, it's not about the stay at the hotel. It's about how do we bring the region, the country, the cultures into our experiences and not have every hotel act the same, do the same, but change it based on the climate we're in. And those trends, I think, in addition to our colleagues, you know, we're very fortunate to have 4 or 5 branded residence projects with Viceroy in the pipeline. And Viceroy is not a big name like Four Seasons or St. Regis or some of these bigger names. But we still see the premium, we still see the demand because people want that vacation experience at their homes. Beside the developer that gets the premium on their sales, the end user wants to feel like they're on a vacation. They want to get the same services.
So let's do a deep dive then on 2 or 3 of the things that we've very specifically brought up. I'm really interested in this conversation about branded residences. I think I live at the St. Regis on Saadiyat in Abu Dhabi, and so I'm a living example of and have experience of the tension between, you know, what the promise is. My trust in the brand, and I'm not for a moment suggesting that it doesn't work, but I'm also aware that there is some tension between the two. You know, there really is. So can we just do a slightly deeper dive on the convergence of hospitality and real estate? And real estate and lifestyle sort of reshaping this sector. Who's winning and who's losing from the blurring of these lines, do you think?
I think I wouldn't see it as a winner and a loser because I think that within real estate and lifestyle, let's call it branded residential so that we can use simplistic terms here that are less emotional. I think, you know, ultimately, if this business exists today and if it has the prospects of growth that it has, and if it contributes significantly to the bottom line.
Can we talk about what that bottom line looks like, that contribution to the bottom line looks like from your perspective?
Yeah, so this is a real business today. Before COVID, branded residential was treated as an ancillary business to a lot of these brands. It was like, our core business is hospitality, branded residential is an add-on. This has become today a core business for many of these hospitality companies because following COVID and during COVID, people have realized that actually they want to have the option of being able to live somewhere else, potentially, and they want to live better and more spacious. And to do that, you need a trusted partner, a trusted brand that will promise you space, reliability, hygiene, and the various different things. So they've tended to go with that as opposed to an unknown developer / operator. And so the brands have followed this consumer need in expanding the branded residential, and it's working. So to answer your question, if you look at one of the platforms we're invested in, which is Four Seasons, it's a private company, it doesn't disclose its financial statements. But if I project over the next 5 years, what is the contribution to the growth of the incremental EBITDA of that business, I would say that easily a third of that is going to come from branded
30%.
residential. 30%. Yes. So, and I think a similar, level of contribution would probably exist with other brands as well. There are many companies that are establishing branded residential, C-suite heads that just focus on that, building talent and capability and making it their core business. So on the subject of the future of hospitality, branded residential, it's in its early stage. So that's why there are potentially some teething problems, which you will never have with the Four Seasons, by the way. Let me tell you that. Sorry, with all due respect. But it's early stage. Yeah. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. So
and that was going to be my next question to all of you. And I'm certainly not picking holes in the St. Regis, believe me. I mean, I'm perfectly satisfied with it, but I understand that there will be some, there can conceivably be some tension. What does it look like as a sector, and what sort of impact can you see branded residences having on the bottom line going forward?
It's a great sector. There's about 800 in total globally branded residential projects, of which Marriott has the biggest portfolio. Accor happens to have the second biggest portfolio. I'm going to answer your prior question as well in terms of who's the biggest winners and the losers. The losers in this stage is commodity. That's what branded residential also answers. It's the commodity. The question is, how big is too big? How many more branded residential projects do you have? When we were backstage, we were talking about now anybody can take any brand and make a branded residence out of a brand of clothing or sneakers or sports cars or whatever,
Cars,
right? Doesn't matter. So that's, we need to be very careful as a sector from a hospitality point of view that we do not commoditize what we're trying to do. So I would say that's the biggest loser in the scheme of things. In terms of winners, listen, we're all fighting for that same high-end consumer who's willing to pay anything for that amazing experience. And when we're all looking as to what our individual swim lanes need to be, what those promises are that are differentiating, let's say, an Orient Express from an Amman, from a Ritz-Carlton, from a Four Seasons, it is very important that we deliver that message. And what's so interesting, Becky, I would say, we have many currents that we're trying to swim with, against, in parallel to. One, we talked about AI and what that is doing in terms of getting to know the customer. Customer acquisition is very expensive. So that database building is really important. Once we capture the customer, we want to own that customer as much as we can, right? Be it in hotel and residential, in any other services that we can offer them. And just going back to brands that are getting a lot of attention, and I'm going to talk shop for a little bit and toot my own horn for a second. Accor has 3 centennial brands, which is really interesting. One, Raffles, which is the centennial brand of Asia. We have Orient Express, which is the centennial brand of Europe, and Fairmont, the centennial brand of North America. The amount of interest that we've seen from the marketplace for these heritage brands that is extraordinary. So take Orient Express. That brand is 142 years old. Tremendous amount of history from a cultural point of view, if you will, factual and fictional. Thank you, Agatha Christie. And there's so much hunger to explore and learn. I think, people just want something different at the end of the day. And so we talked about COVID and the exacerbations of trends, but we went away from ownership of material goods to just access. I want access. And if you talk about the next generation, of which, by the way, there's many ultra high net worth in the millennial and the Z generation, et cetera, they think very different. They want access to people. They want to connect with place, with culture, with themselves. So all we're doing right now is fighting for their attention span. And the rules of the game are changing every day. The way that we market to these consumers, the way we acquire these consumers, what we need to do to keep them loyal. And I guess everybody can talk about loyalty around the panel, but there's a lot of change coming. We got to stay on our game, and competition is really good. It's very healthy. It keeps us honest.
I think from a winner, you're absolutely right on commoditization. I think from a winner perspective, I would say there are 3 big winners, right? One is the developer themselves. They're kind of getting the velocity to sell faster. They're getting the premium. And let's not forget a lot of different places in Europe, especially when you go in, a lot of hotel, there are 2 branded residences. One is co-located with a hotel, one are independent. So now I refer to the co-located with a hotel. A lot of the developers are able to do new hotels because they're able to sell the branded residences and maybe fund the hotel itself. So from a developer perspective, I think it's a clear win. From a consumer, you rightly mentioned that it's kind of, they want something different, they want the experiences, they want to have that stamp of quality, or if they're going to a place, let's say Dubai, Miami, or anywhere else, instead of just buying an independent unit, they buy it with a brand. There's a surety, there's a trust. So I think for them, it's clearly a win. In terms of the buyer, that's the win. The developer has a win. So I think there's a bit of a win-win situation for all. I think for us, the big focus is when the residences are co-located, it is easier to do the services, to your point of not kind of diluting it.
Yeah.
The big focus is how do we bring equally good service in independent whether it's St. Regis or Ritz-Carlton residences you get in,
Standalone,
which are not attached to hotels. So, and a lot of this growth, so we have today 130 open, 100 to open around the world. A lot of these 100 to open are now independents. So that's going to be a big focus for our show.
That's interesting.
I mean, is your St. Regis residences connected to the hotel,
It's
right?
connected to the hotel.
I think that's an excellent point that you make, because in the beginning, the branded residences were always part of a hotel. You had the amenities, you had the restaurant, you had the spa, you had the services of the hotel. But today, you can do it independently, and Ritz-Carlton was really a pioneer of that. When they first started doing standalone branded residences, we all thought they were nuts. But that would be the loser if you don't deliver on the promise. And it's more difficult to do it in a freestanding residences building where you don't have, a seasoned general manager and the entire team to take care of people. But to me, it's a win-win. And one thing we didn't talk about yet on the branded resi side is the condo hotel model.
The
Condo hotel model.
Well, let's talk about it.
That is the biggest mover, I think. Like you said, people need the branded resi income to pay for the hotel, or at least help subsidize the cost of building a hotel. With financing costs and expectation from investors of their returns and the spreads, they're getting better, but they're still pretty heavy. I don't see too many freestanding hotels being built in the city of Miami, for example. Everything I'm seeing coming up, they're all condo hotels, where they sell the units, they put it back into the rental program. There is some expectation of return from the end user, but also they buy a piece of US. I've heard in this conference in Mecca and Medina, there's many condo hotel projects going on in those two regions, because the people that come for the Hajj and the Umrah, they want to own a piece of the Holy Land, right? So I see a big trend in the branded resi going into the condo hotel investment model. And I think it can be a win-win for everybody. Win, win, and win for the operator, for the buyer, and the developer, if it's done right.
This has been fascinating. Let's talk about AI and data. I mean, and data acquisition, and to your point, the costs involved in that. As, again, thinking about the scope of who we have of portfolio, just on this panel today, the amount of data your organizations have is vast. The question is, at present, what are the outcomes and where is the value when it comes to that data to you? And how are you deploying AI, investing in and deploying AI to ensure that you are getting the best out of that data? Sarmad.
So this is a very interesting, thought-provoking question, because up until the disruptive technologies, the Ubers of the world and the Deliveroo's came into our world, hotel companies prided themselves on their ability to recognize consumers and understand the requirements and profile them. And so they were using archaic technologies. People in the front desk saying, oh, Miss Anderson likes feather pillows. And so when Miss Anderson goes to another hotel, she gets her feather pillows. That was the extent of recognition. Then on Uber, your captain, as they call them, which is basically the driver, scores you. Do you know that? Yeah, I have a terrible score, by the way. I make them work, it's bad. But anyway, they score you. And they have the ability to recognize you better than any hospitality company, because they have the technology to do so. And all of a sudden, you as a consumer, living your life, have been seduced and have been used to the taste of recognition outside of the hospitality world. So if you go to a restaurant, you get into a taxi, or you order food, you are now at rarefied air level with respect to the quality of recognition you're getting. The hospitality industry has lagged. They have not really invested in the technology and the tools to be able to catch up with this recognition pattern. And that's not good. So where's the opportunity? Hospitality industry have much more data than your Uber driver has on you. Because the Uber driver has on you your journey time and whether you drink the water and whether you're polite or not, and they score you based on that. Hospitality industry, other than a hospital, effectively has an incredible amount of data. I cannot think of any other business that really has that much data on consumer than the hospitality, because you live there, you eat there, you brush your teeth there, you do everything there. There is an intimate level of, so that's the data. And the question is, you have the moral compass in order to exploit that data, if you want to use that word, or monetize it. You've got the regulatory framework, which is under GDPR, the ability to use that data and maintain its privacy. And so that's the boundary to which you have data. And you have what the consumer wants, because the consumer wants you to use that data. They want you, the consumer expects you today, when they stay in your hotels, that, hey, you know everything about me. How come you didn't recognize me when I went to your little suburban properties over there? So I think, given that the hospitality industry has underutilized data in the manner that they should, AI will be that opportunity for them.
I mean, this is about turning that scale of data into meaningful action.
That's right.
For you,
So,
as an organization. And sorry, just to your point, we talked yesterday about Expedia sort of moving from being an online travel organization to a technology company. That's right. I'm just wondering, with the scale of data that the organizations like yours have, to a degree, we consider Uber a technology company. Why shouldn't we consider your organization's technology companies going forward? Gilda.
So I will say, no, we're hospitality companies that use technology as a tool to enhance our experiences. But just going back on your question of AI, we all know the saying, cash is king. We're in the day and age where content is king. Okay, so what do we do with that data? We know what you like. We can now program, we can push. Think about, by the way, you take Netflix. Your Netflix experience is totally different than my Netflix experience, depending on what I like, watch, stop watching halfway through, etc. This is where the data comes in very handy. It's not enough, as Arash was saying, that you just slap a name on, going back to the branded residential aspect, or a hotel. You just put your logo on the top of the building or whatever, and it's a room product. That is done. That is commodity. That has nothing exciting, sexy about it, zero. We need to now give you a reason to come back, to stay with us, to live with us, to spend time with us, right? And the only way we can do it is by creating things that are relevant to you. This is where the data is extremely important. We know when you stay with us what restaurant you're using, what dish you like, what you didn't like, that you like the spa, you don't like this thing. With that information, we can now be very targeted. We can create program. We will make sure that we also create a network, a community that it's like-minded to you. But that content creation is so critical. The other bit that I think we sometimes underestimate, going back to Sarmad's Uber comment and the fact that we're in reputational economy and now we're rated as well as consumers. Think about all the content that people staying in your hotel are creating about you. Okay, how many posts they're doing. If we have an influencer saying, using our train on La Dolce Vita, they put one amazing comment and she happens to have 34 million viewers or followers on Instagram. This is amazing for us. She's just created content. She's just delivered, our brand promise out there. We've now captured somebody else who's following this individual or whatever. That is data. That is extremely valuable. But again, it's about programming, it's about pushing, it's about acquiring that consumer, and most importantly, holding them captive for as much as we can. We are competing for people's attention span.
I think I would add to what you just mentioned. I mean, let's look at Marriott Bonvoy. We are 260 members. If you really look at the scale of that, we're talking the population of Spain, Italy, Greece, UK, Switzerland, and another country. That's the scale we are talking about. That's vast. And we have that data. But I think I just want to bring in maybe a slightly different element in this conversation that yes, there is no doubt that AI needs to help us elevate the guest experience because we have the information. It needs to elevate because it will free up a lot of humans, a lot of people of ours to engage more with the guest. But end of the day, I think we all as operators need to do a great job balancing the AI and the personalization, balancing the fact that, I give you an example. So I was last week traveling and I get into this car and I'm sure because I am a Marriott Bonvoy member, I hope you three are, but get into the car, I'm sure the driver had the data of whatever it would be. I was on a call. So the driver says, is the AC okay? And I said, yes. Or do you want music? Well, no, I'm on a call, but okay, we continue. We are going to Terminal X. Yes. Shall we start? Yes. Do you need water? And by the end of it, you're saying, no, just leave me alone. All I'm trying to get to is that he has that information, or she has that information. It is to be used because you want to kind of make it personalized. You need to elevate the experience. But we need to keep going back to where we all started. We started as innkeepers looking after people. We can't forget that too. So I think the responsibility is on us to do both. Keep growing on what AI is doing, what it brings on the table, what tech brings, what the information we have on these 260 million members, but also then make sure that that remains, that people or our people who kind of, we have 740,000 people around the world wearing the Marriott name badge, that they all understand that, one, it's about personalization. Second, they need to read the room too.
Yes.
I don't want to talk right now. I don't want to know. So I think that kind of sensitivity needs to keep coming along with tech. I think there needs to be a good marriage between the two.
Is there any single one thing that you can think as so beneficial to the organization as a result of those 216 million members that you have? What does that mean to you? Is there a single example of why that sort of number matters to your organization?
Yes, one, I think to what you mentioned, Gilda, that it's data of all the information that we have about what you like when you go to the St. Regis Saudi the next time, that we are delivering and it's personalized and you feel valued. And I think there are two parts to loyalty. One is transactional, one is experiential. And we need to do good job on both. It cannot be one at the cost of other. That transaction needs to remain that the guest who checks out and sees his points or her points gets the points and is able to redeem it and use it. The transaction piece of the Bonvoy loyalty program. The second being the qualitative. To your question, we have the information on 260 million. We need to use it well. We need to personalize each guest experience. I think that's where the victory would be.
It's fascinating.
I
5 minutes to go. Arash, go.
Yeah, by the way, everyone in the room, let's have you back for a second. Don't panic about AI. I know there's this big panic that, oh, we're behind, we're falling behind. You're not. AI needs to be a compass, not a GPS. AI should help you with everything you do, should be an addition to what you do. For me, as an operator, as a leader, I look at our guest sentiment scores, our guest sentiment comments, before I look at our profit and loss statement, before I look at my daily labor reports. And it goes, I'm dating myself, where we used to have guest comment cards where people would fill it and write their notes in it. I would start my morning by looking at those reports. So one advice, one recommendation that I give to all of you is there's incredible AI tools that you can wake up in the morning and have a report in front of you, hotel by hotel, and it will highlight trends in service delivery, trend in guest happiness, trends in how to shape your day and your organization. With that, with the age of AI, I don't know if you've planned one of these trips lately, it is incredible what these tools do. They go look at, I tell them, go look at all reviews for different restaurants in Barcelona that I want to have the best paella in, and it will come. So it's not about as much loyalty and people getting the points. It's going to be very important, don't get me wrong. But guest sentiment and how people view you as a whole age of technology will change. And on one final note, until AI is compassionate, we shouldn't panic too much more. Because that compassion that comes from your driver, that comes from the service that we provide, I think is going to be the difference maker.
So to close this out, we've got 3 minutes, so that pretty much means 3.5 minutes, so that's sort of 45 seconds each. As we consider what we've discussed today, what essential human element must the industry preserve at all costs to remain true to its core? Sarmad.
I think this is perfect because it picks up on the last point that my colleague did, is that AI is an amplifier. It will generate intent on travel planning and many things. And I think at the end of the day, this business is a people business. People want the experiences, the digital experience they can get elsewhere, but this business cannot function without relying on a human intervention for service delivery, for engagement, and for emotional connection. And so unlike professional services, healthcare, or other places that will be probably revolutionized through AI, I think the essential human element is that as long as in the lodging business we don't lose that emotional connection of wanting to be assisting someone's needs as a human to a human, we will continue to exist and will thrive.
Well, Gilda, what does that look like?
I would say, listen, two things. So I like what you said, Sandeep. We are innkeepers. That means we care, okay? So we cannot stop caring. That's absolutely fundamental, non-negotiable principle for those of us who are in hospitality. And then I think it was the minister, one of the ministers of energy who was here a few panels ago, and he said common sense. So we need common sense, we need to care, we need to use the tools wisely and responsible. And I agree with you, there's a limit. I'll give you an example. I went to a hotel the other day, and as soon as I checked in, I saw family pictures everywhere. That was so creepy. That's too much. Yeah, it was insane. I went to another hotel, and they knew I had a conference call, and they set up the suite in the most beautiful way so it could be comfortable, and that was it. I was left alone. So I think that goes back to common sense. Leave room for discovery. We need to have organic relationships at the end of the day. It's not, technology is not a one-size-fits-all, be-all, end-all type solution. But at the end of the day, it all goes back to caring. That's it. If you care, we will win.
Sandeep.
I would say it's like us. A lot of us, all of us in the room actually either decide from our heart or from our brain. And we use, in different examples, we use what the heart is saying and what the brain is saying. I think it's similar. I think it'll need to be a good focus that we as hospitality leaders would need to kind of have that innkeeper heart, look after our people, the genuine care, the genuine connection, the personalization to the conference call setup, to have that common sense and kind of think from the heart for the guest. But at the same time, business is getting very competitive. And we'll need to use, whether it's AI, whether it's tech, whether it is all the things which are coming in all together, use it and make sure that we're thinking, we are working through our brain like an entrepreneur to make sense of the business. So it'll need to be this juggle between our heart and the brain, the innkeeper and the businessman, and see how we kind of keep balancing the two. So have the heart of an innkeeper and the brain of an entrepreneur.
I love that.
I'll make it quick. We got 6 seconds to go. We are in the business of hospitality, and sometimes we forget that. I think my one recommendation, one thing I want to leave you with is don't get mechanical. I spend 200 nights a year on the road, and I've seen hotels, I've seen resorts that have become mechanical. You're in the business of hospitality. Don't worry about the SOP. Make the guest feel great. Your experience in the car is a great example of it. Read the body language and provide hospitality to your guests and use AI for that.
And with that, we're done. Spinning off the stage, your panel today. It's been tremendous. Thank you very
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next year.